Imagine a Saturday night. You have no deadlines and you don't have any jobs to do. You're in your friend's house watching cartoons and playing games in his backyard. Hello, my new Prime Minister, to start off the propositions speech. We have two arguments to tell you, but before I start, I first like to tell you to set up. What's the definition of best time in this debate? The best time means in here is about happiness. The happiness of this person being happy, and that's the best thing. And which means best happiness and what age. And the stakeholders is the person we're talking about, either the childhood or the adulthood they're talking about. Moving on to my second two arguments. My first argument is about opportunity. When we're adults, we don't have any time to do other things like playing soccer or playing video games in TV. This is true because you have a job, and two, you have an expertise, and it's most likely that you're only going to focus on one thing, which is your job. What's the impact? You're probably gonna do only one thing, except for some circumstances. You're probably gonna do only one thing, your job, and that may be boring or maybe can be stressful by only doing one thing instead of variety of it. My DPM will explain more further about this. Okay, move. What does our world look like? The have the When you're childhood, you can do variety of things. Play games with your friends or go to art class, even though maybe your art class is not the best thing you can. But you still have a lot of things to do instead of just doing one thing each time. Why is this good? Because you don't get bored by doing one thing. If you do variety of thing, not like the adulthood, you can be more amused because imagine this. You play with a friend X for 10 years, that's boring. But in your childhood, you can do like X, Y, Z, and a lot of things on and on, which is pretty probably.
Why, sir?
No, thank you. Moving on to my second argument. My second argument is about a family bond. When we're adult, we don't have many times to meet your parents and or maybe your children or maybe your wife. Why is this true? A, we have our own job, which takes up most of our time in your life. And B, you become more independent, which means that it's most likely that you're not gonna live in your parents' house, and your parents are gonna make food for you. What's the impact? You can be more depressed or maybe more bored because you don't have a lot of friends to interact with, except for the people in your job or maybe
Why, sir?
uh out of order. Um, you can't see your parents order. Um, what does our childhood look like? In our childhood, you can freely make do play dates with your friend, and you can meet your mom or dad almost every day because your mom makes your food and your dad comes and buys you toys. Uh, toys. Why is this good? Because since you can spend more times with your family, you can have a greater family relationship, which is less likely to happen in the opposition world. I'm no more too proud to propose. Thank you.
Adjudicators, opponents, and everyone here today. The topic for today's debate is childhood years are the best years of life. We are on the opposition side, which means that we disagree with this statement. We believe that childhood years are not the best years of life because later stages offer more independence, opportunities, and personal growth. The key words in this debate are childhood years and best years of life. Childhood years refer to the early stage of life, usually from birth to around 18 years old, when a person is still growing, learning, and largely dependent on adults. Best years of life refers to the period in which a person experiences the most happiness, satisfaction, and fulfillment. Our side will be broken down into 6 main substantives. Children face pressure and lack control. Emotional maturity improves happiness. Adults can create happiness for themselves. Limited understanding of the world, lack of freedom and control. And childhood isn't the same for everyone. Before I'll start, I'd like to address one point. They always say that kids have more freedom, but a lot of adults do the job they want, the job they love, and not just because they have a job. Who said that they can't have fun? Who said they can't travel the world? Who said they can't have a hobby that they love? Okay, now to continue our speech. Children have little control over their own lives. Adults make decisions for them, from what they eat to where they go to school to where they can play and what they want to do. Do we call this or define this as true happiness? No. True happiness often comes with independence and choice, which children don't yet have. They don't get to choose what they want to learn. They don't get to choose where they want to go for holidays. They don't have the ability to shape their life during childhood. Even during late teens, they rarely get to choose what they want in terms of going out to where they want to learn. No, thank you. And how they want to spend their time. Children may experience short bursts of joy like playing games or receiving gifts, but these are temporary pleasures, not lasting fulfillment. Without the freedom to make meaningful decisions, children cannot experience the deep satisfaction that comes from shaping their own lives and their own career. Also, by law, children from 0 to 18 years old are still legally
sir.
No, thank you. Minors, which mean the law recognizes that they do not yet have full capacity to make important decisions for themselves, and the final say always goes to the adults. Being an adult means you can make your own decisions to your heart's content without having to negotiate with your parents if you want a different medical treatment or path. Plus, there are too many unnecessary restrictions, like not being able to ride e-bikes on the road or the under 16 social media ban in Australia. On to my second.
Sir.
Yes, no.
But isn't freedom worth sacrificing for security and 100% security from your parents?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Isn't freedom worth sacrificing for 100% security from your parents?
Adults can have a lot of freedom too. They can do what they want without they can do a lot without restrictions, and also kids also go through many burdens like bullying and stuff. So that doesn't mean they have to sacrifice freedom for that. On to my second substantive, childhood isn't the same for everyone. Living as a kid in a poverty-stricken family compared to a wealthy family, living in a giant estate is extremely different to living in a war zone or in a small rundown house with little or no food. I can assure you that most people aren't living in the ideal situation. Some in poverty, some with domestic violence, some in war zones, and many more dire living conditions. Saying it's the best time of life ignores those who suffer through unfortunate conditions. Happiness and comfort during childhood are not universal experiences. While some may have a carefree and privileged upbringing, countless others enjoy extreme difficulties that make their childhood far from the best stage of life. As adults, people have more control over their circumstances. They can choose their careers, where to live, and how to spend their time. Even though those who grew up in poverty have the chance to improve their lives, gain financial stability, and create a safer, more fulfilling environment for themselves. Note this. People like Michael Jordan, Jimmy Butler, Kendrick Lamar, Elon Musk, Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar have lived in unideal conditions when they're young and in extreme poverty, but they have turned their life around in adult. In conclusion, I've provided two substantives that childhood isn't the same for everyone and children have little control over their own lives. So proud to oppose.
Judge, look at adulthood, taxes, rent, and expectations of your love life, and so much more. A life of a child, a parent's love, so many opportunities, and your responsibility at maximum is studying for how once. Now, before I start with my final argument of government side, I'll move on to the rebuttal to the previous first opposition speaker. So they talk about true independence and freedom, what you get as an adult. But what is freedom worth without security? Do you feel happy because you can do everything when you want when you're an adult? No, many of us miss childhood for that childhood innocence, for the security. You can do everything you want, but there are restrictions. That's what it's not perfect. You can't just go skydiving in the middle of the day because you have to pay taxes, you have to have a house, you have to have a job, and it's expected of you to get married, etc. You have expectations of you, and it's not like there's expectations from you, not just from your I think they think your parents no longer expect anything from you and they're not going to control your life, but no, that's not necessarily the case. They still have an impact on you based on your childhood situation. They're still going to have some impact on you for some extent in your adulthood, right? They're not going to just let you cut them off completely. You're just going to have some contact, even though that's little. And also, And also, like, you have to pay taxes, and there's a lot of responsibilities expected from you as an adult, and society expects you to do some things. So no, you do not have complete freedom, and you just can't go. And it's not like you can do whatever you want just because you're an adult. There's limitations to it, and it comes from expectations, not just from people, not just from your parents anymore, but from society, and that impact is way bigger. You're often not able to pursue these opportunities when you're grown. Also, the child has freedom to some extent. The parent won't cut out everything the child says 99% of the time. The child wants to go to Disneyland. If it's not a Monday and it's like a weekend and they have enough time, yeah, sure, maybe they might. It's not. And also, there's security that comes with a child. You have a safe house, etc. But they talk about poverty-stricken children and they grow poverty-stricken children and their houses aren't very secure. Okay, so I agree with the fact that they might not have a stable home growing up, and yeah, if you're growing in poverty, you might not have the secure home or secure childhood. But the thing is, these poverty-stricken children will escape to poverty the second they grow up. That's not always the case, because number one, they lack opportunities. All right, they can't go to expensive academies. They can't get special education. No, they oftentimes they can't get education, and they can't live a normal life. We agree with that. But so a child's environment often lead to their future, right? So if they had a bad childhood environment, yes.
You said that kids do not. You said that kids just cannot magically escape, right, from poverty, but it gives them the chance. It gives them the chance to escape from poverty, unlike kids who stay in poverty all the time without having to change.
Okay, so the thing is, the child can grow up and work at McDonald's. I think the most plausible case is this, and I don't think they talked about people like Messi and people, etc. But here's the thing: they have a good family. They had a good family environment for that, right? They have people who supported them, so that's one thing. And also, this is a rare case. This is only the best exception. Normally, little Timmy, who is poor, is going to be poor in the future. It's really hard to escape that cycle of poverty, and welfare hardly does anything to help these people. So no, it doesn't really work and doesn't really help. And yeah, it's an opportunity, but their parents are working right now too, so that possibility of them escaping is not very likely. And if that's likely, their parents breaking the cycle is likely as well. The last argument of government side is about pressure. You have taxes, responsibilities as an adult. However, as a child, you have less problems and they're less impactful, because firstly, your problems are smaller because your capacity is limited, thus your responsibilities are less like impactful. And secondly, your problems are less impactful because you have more people to support you, your parents, your school friends, your teachers, your school counselor, etc. Patrick, propose.
Honorable judges and esteemed opponents, I am the second speaker of the opposition side, here to prove that childhood years are not the best of life. However, before I begin with my speech, I would like to point out certain invalidities in the opposition team's arguments. The second proposition speaker stated that adults have a lot of responsibilities, children have security, and that not all children come out of poverty in adulthood. Responsibilities in adulthood bring purpose and self-worth, not just stress. Security in childhood often comes with restrictions and lack of control. Moreover, adulthood offers opportunities to rise out of poverty and build a better life, something children cannot do on their own. I will now begin with my speech. My first substantive is that children face pressure and lack control. Although adults may look back and see childhood as carefree, children often live under constant pressure. They have to follow strict schedules, rules from parents, and expectations from teachers. Every part of their day is controlled, from the time that they wake up to what they eat to what they study. They rarely get to make their own decisions or choose what they truly enjoy doing.
You know what?
School. Yes, ma'am.
So are you saying that pressure of studying is more significant over work, pressure to get married, etc.?
Sorry, what's your question?
So are you saying that the pressure of studying is more significant than the pressure of work, getting married, having to pay rent, etc.?
Yes, I do say that, as your studies is actually what plans out your future. If you get bad grades, you most likely will get a bad job unless you take entrepreneuring as a job. However, entrepreneuring is a very complicated job, and children will most likely not think of that as a child and would still stress over their exams and studies. I'll now continue with my speech. Instead of joy, this creates anxiety and fear in children. Apart from academics, there's also social pressure. Many children worry about fitting in, being teased, or being left out. These experiences can make childhood far from the happiest period in life. As adults, people have far more control over their choices. They can decide what to do with their time, what career to pursue, and what people to spend time with. This sense of independence and control gives adults more satisfaction and peace of mind than children who are constantly told what to do. Having freedom over one's own life is a key part of happiness, and this is something children simply do not have. My second substantive is that emotional maturity improves happiness. As people grow older, they begin to understand their emotions, relationships, and the world around them more clearly. In childhood, emotions are strong but often confusing. Children can feel upset.
TOI.
No, thank you, ma'am. Jealous or afraid without knowing why or how to handle those feelings. They may cry over small problems or misunderstand situations because they lack emotional experience. However, as adults, people develop emotional intelligence. They learn how to cope with stress, manage conflicts, and handle loss or disappointment. For example, when a child loses a competition, they might cry for hours and refuse to try again. But as an adult, in the same situation, they can reflect on what went wrong, plan better, and move forward with confidence. Emotional maturity allows adults to appreciate the good moments in life and stay calm during the bad ones. This balance creates a deeper and more stable kind of happiness than the short-lived joy of childhood. In conclusion, childhood is not necessarily the best time of life. Children face pressure from school, family, and society while having little control over their own lives. As people grow older, they gain independence, understanding, and emotional strength, which lead to true and lasting happiness. Therefore, we on the opposition side strongly believe that childhood years are not the best years of life. Thank you.
Judge, what does opposition team think? Adulthood provides freedom and independence, and this leads to happiness. In my speech, as our previous speakers already destroyed their case, I will prove why freedom and independence does not lead to happiness most of the time. Right? Judge, two things in my speech. First, some rebuttals, and then moving on to the clashes and today's debate. Now, so their third argument was about how adults have more emotional experience compared to children. But first, I'd like to point out that children have something adults do not have. They have parents, they have teachers, they have people who can guide them through these like hardships and emotions, right? So we believe that like these parents are first, they have a moral obligation to protect their children from like these hardships and emotions they face, and so therefore we believe that children will be able to manage this no matter what because they have like parents to support them, right? Because most of the time parents are like loving and caring role models for the children who can protect them. We're not and that's most of the time, right? Instead, adults, they don't have like these parents or teachers who can guide them. They only have friends who have their own hardships. And yes,
What if children don't tell their parents, teachers, or friends about how they're feeling and
but
their
don't you
emotions?
think that would be more unlikely? Because if children are in a state of stress and their parents already paint or in their mind, parents are already painted as like their role model, somebody they can lean on and trust on most of the time. And so it will be likely that they will tell like their parents about their troubles. And also adults like they don't have like this other second solution to go on, right? So moving on to the main clash of today's debate is freedom for adults versus security of children. So their world is a world where autonomy is viewed as good and there are no expectations for these adults, and therefore there are less restrictions, which leads to more happiness. Right? Our world, there are more security from family bonds and teachers and friends and etc. This leads to better happiness and more happiness. So the metric in today's debate of what is the best years of our childhood life is happiness, right? So in this class, I prove why security leads to more happiness compared to freedom. First, they claim autonomy leads to happiness. Does this? No. It evokes fear. It hands the adult a big burden, having to take responsibility for every single thing. Isn't this worse compared to like school stress, where if you make like a single exam mistake, there's things such as chances, there's things like second chances. In adult life, you just don't have that. There's just work, and there's just something called firing, and there's something called social expectations in adulthood, right? Judge, an adult can't just leave work in the middle of the day and like party and go party. Yes.
Just now you said that adults also have social expectations, but don't children have social expectations
Yes,
too?
children have social expectations, but as I already explained in my rebuttal, children have people who can first guide them, and second, they have less social expectations compared to adults who have to take responsibility for every single thing, right? So what is opposition worrying about here? They're worrying that children, they have these they have like social expectations, they're stressed from their schoolwork. But Judge, I want you to consider this. Adults have twice as much as that. They have so many more social expectations. They have so many more like responsibilities, because every single mistake, it reflects on their reputation, it reflects on who they are. But the children, they have like a parents and teachers to like help them, guide them, right? So let's compare these two best cases. Their best case is like this happy 30-year-old adult who rose out from poverty and etc. Our best case is a happy child who's taking care of a loving and happy parent. So let's compare. Opposition size like adult, this 30-year-old happy adult, they still have taxes, they still have pressure, they still have social expectations, they still have jobs, they still have bad days, they still have like so many exams to go through and so many like hard relationships that there's less people to guide them through, right? Meanwhile, ours, even if these children go through hardships and they have social expectations, we believe that this parent has a moral obligation to guide them, right? And also we believe they have less, because in society children are viewed as more innocent, and therefore we believe that these children have less social expectations. For all these reasons, so proud to propose.
Greetings, honorable judges and esteemed opponents. As the third speaker of the opposition team, I'm here to prove the motion. I'm here to oppose the motion that this House believes that childhood years are the best years of life. Now, before I begin my speech, I would like to point out some invalidities that the proposition has stated. The proposition has stated repeatedly that there is no security and they don't have as much restrictions and all. They also said that the first proposition speaker also said that children have more time to play and adults have jobs, which is counted as a restriction. Jobs are stressful. Children can do a variety of things, but having more time to play does not mean childhood is happier. Playing, having more fun time, or being with friends doesn't mean it's the only thing that's important. Children still face school stress, rules, and pressure from parents. Adults may have jobs, but they also have freedom to choose their hobbies, travel, and enjoy life on their own terms. True happiness comes from independence, not just free time. Now, I shall continue with my speech.
POI.
Yes, ma'am.
What is freedom worth without security? For example, you have the right to travel, yes, but like, what if you don't have enough money to travel, etc.?
Money is a completely different thing. If you don't have money, who says you can't be happy? Of course, maybe not travel. Travel was just an example. You can have much more things to do when you don't have money. Money is not the root for all happiness. Now, here's my first substantive. Sometimes parents make wrong thing. Here's my first substantive. Adults can create happiness for themselves. As adults, people gain freedom to choose their career, passion, and relationships. They can build a life that brings them meaning and joy, something children can't do for themselves. Take the example of Oprah Winfrey. As a child, she faced a very difficult life. She grew up with poverty, experienced abuse, and had very few opportunities.
POI, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You say children are like powerless and have less autonomy, and adults are free, but adults are forced to like work or starve, forced to follow laws or face prison, forced into obligations by debt and responsibility. How is that more freedom than childhood when all your needs are met by your parents and loving people?
So basically, you're saying that all children are spoiled because you're saying that all their needs are met by loving parents. But doesn't that mean that they're spoiled? Not all parents would do whatever their children ask them to do. Now, however, as an adult, Oprah was able to no, thank you, ma'am. Follow her passion for media and build a successful career. Through her hard work and independence, she created happiness and fulfillment for herself. This shows that adults can shape their own joy and meaning in life, something children do not have the power to do. As adults, people can overcome their past and build the life they truly want. It proves that joy is created through independence and purpose is often. Here's my second substantive: limited understanding of the world. Children often live in confusion or fear about things they don't understand, from family conflict to work events. Adults with more awareness and emotional maturity can handle life's challenges better. For example, Malala Yousafzai. As a child, she lived in fear and confusion when the Taliban banned girls from going to school in her region. She didn't fully understand why something as simple as education was being taken away. But as she grew older, with more knowledge and maturity, Malala became brave enough to speak up for girls' rights and fight for education. This shows that children often struggle to understand the world around them, while adults can think critically and act with courage. It proves that maturity brings clarity and strength. This shows that adulthood allows for a deeper and more confident experience of life than childhood does. The proposition might say adults are burdened by stress, finance, and career, but this is invalid, as adulthood, while it comes with responsibilities, also offers the autonomy to pursue passions, make meaningful life choices, and gain self-sufficiency, all things that bring deep satisfaction. Therefore, this clearly proves that childhood years are not the best years of life. Thank you. The first proposition speaker said that children have more time to play, adults have jobs. While adulthood comes with many responsibilities, these responsibilities provide purpose, independence, and the ability to make decisions for oneself, as I stated earlier. Although children have security from parents, this often comes with strict rules and little control, leaving them dependent and powerless. Adulthood, on the other hand, allows individuals to create their own security through work, education, and relationships, giving them stability and control over their own lives. Furthermore, while not all children escape poverty, adulthood provides the only real opportunities to improve one's circumstances through effort, choices, and personal growth. Responsibilities in adulthood may be challenging, but they also bring autonomy, opportunities, and the potential for a better life, advantages that childhood cannot offer. The second speaker said that adults have the opportunity to may not have the opportunity to turn their lives around, and children can take their parents' example for and work off that. While adults have the opportunity to turn their lives around, children, especially those in poverty, have far fewer chances to escape these circumstances. Unlike adults, children lack the agency to change their situation until they grow older, and even then, opportunities are limited. Adults have a much bigger chance to turn their lives around. Adulthood comes with responsibilities, but they give life meaning and purpose. Managing work, family, or goals can be challenging, yet these tasks bring pride, independence, and a sense of fulfillment that children lack. Responsibilities may cause stress, but they also build confidence and stability. Children may have security, but it often comes with strict rules, as I stated earlier. While not all children escape poverty, adulthood provides the only real opportunities. Adults have loved ones, their parents, and even certain teachers to guide them. Just because they are matured doesn't mean that they can't make a mentor or the other loved ones to help them through hard times. Freedom and independence may not guarantee happiness, but they allow people to shape their own lives and find deeper fulfillment. While children rely on parents and teachers to make decisions for them, adults have control over their own choices. There is another thing that I would like to point out. Children are vulnerable. Children do not have the emotional maturity to go through challenges. If a parent makes a mistake, the child takes the impact, and all those cartoon gifts are short-lived happiness and not long-term. And adults have wife, siblings, and mentors that can guide them along the way. Just because they are mature doesn't mean that they don't have someone to guide them. Thank you.
Every day it gets boring. Hello, I'm the government reply speaker to end the debate. So the thing I'll do in my speech is trying to compare exclusive benefits and exclusive disadvantages. The opposition stated that if you're an adult, you have more freedom to travel, or you have more freedom to do anything you want. Okay, that might be true, but there's some restrictions that you have to consider. You have to go to your the company, and you have money restriction, and you have a lot of restriction that you don't have in your childhood, because in your childhood your parents does everything for you. And also, they also said that when you're an adult, when you're a child, you might and when you're a child, there's a lot of restriction from your parents and whatnot. However, that is kind of not true, and it's proven by a proposition point that even though there might be some restriction from your parents, there's also restriction when you're adult because there's probably your bosses and there's probably jails and you probably have laws you actually have to follow. But when you're a child, you don't really need to, and you just get a simple warning, which actually proves that there's actually more restriction and there's actually more rules you have to follow when you're adult than when you're a child. Child, which proves that opposition only has disadvantages, while the proposition has a lot of advantage of having family bond, having opportunities and whatnot. And I'm no more to proud to propose. Thank you.